Is the Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPU fast enough to unlock every bit of performance from the RX 9070 XT graphics card? Let's find out. To test this, we'll take a look at three scenarios: a CPU-intensive AAA game, just an average AAA game, and a competitive shooter where we'll aim to achieve the highest FPS possible. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. Let's start with a CPU-intensive AAA game. This is Cyberpunk 2077, 1440p resolution, and we'll use the high graphics quality preset with FSR 4 set to quality mode. And what we'll do is we'll turn off film grain, motion blur, all of that stuff has to go. Field of view is set to 100. Crowd density is the setting that stresses the CPU the most, so let's max it out, set it to high, and see what happens. The FPS is quite high, 120 plus consistently so far. However, if you noticed, the GPU load, it is nowhere near 100% utilization. Yeah, 85% utilized. That means that we are experiencing a CPU bottleneck. You can even see it in the GPU power draw. It is way lower than expected. 120 watts for the 9070 XT, that is not a lot. Let's take a look at an area where there's going to be a lot more NPCs. NPCs is what's stressing the CPU the most in this game, and here's the area where there's a lot of them, the market. We see that there are some dips to 90 plus FPS. 92 FPS was the lowest I've seen so far, but yeah, there you go. Even the mighty 9800X3D cannot unlock the full potential of the 9070 XT in some of these CPU-intensive games. As a result, a consistent 120 plus FPS experience is not possible. Because as you can see right here, we are getting dips below 100 sometimes. That is unfortunate, but it is the way it is. Fortunately though, in this game we can actually lower the CPU-intensive setting. So let's see what happens. Let's lower the crowd density and reduce the number of NPCs. Let's set it to medium now. Check out the difference. It is massive. The FPS is now at 150 to 180. That is huge. And take a look at that GPU power. Yeah, we're now consuming close to 300 watts instead of 120 watts. And the GPU load is... it is only slightly higher. Interesting. But we're still getting dips below 120. Although not as often. So this is a more consistent 120 plus FPS experience with only a few dips below that. Not bad, but it could be better because we are still CPU limited in this particular scenario. Shall we lower the crowd density a little bit more? Let's try low. Surprisingly, even on the lowest crowd density, the GPU load still can't stay at 99 or 100% at all times. So yeah, the 9800X3D just can't unlock the full potential of the 9070 XT in this particular scenario. Even though we lowered the crowd density to the absolute minimum, at least now we're not dropping below 120 FPS. Yeah, this is a high refresh rate experience all the way, through and through. We're not getting those performance dips anymore. So, I guess there's that. If you're looking for a 120 FPS experience in CPU-intensive titles, it is still possible as long as one of those CPU-intensive settings can be adjusted. That said, you can't do that in every CPU-intensive game. Sometimes it's just not possible. It's just a part of the main gameplay feature. For example, in Space Marine 2, where hordes of enemies are actually, by design, part of the game, so you can't really lower those, can you? Before we move on to the next game, I think we should try frame generation. Let's use the FSR 3.1 frame gen. While the GPU is still not fully loaded, the FPS is extremely high now. Well above 240, which means that if you have a 240 Hz monitor, then you'll saturate that, no issues. This particular MSI QD OLED monitor is 360 Hz, and yeah, the image fluidity on this thing looks absolutely insane. Although, because of the motion blur effect introduced by the frame generation, AMD's frame generation, it's, yeah, the image fluidity doesn't feel as nice, because there is lack of image clarity in motion. But if you like high FPS, then, you know, frame generation is the way to go. That's the only way to achieve high frame rates in these AAA titles. Shall we take a look at a competitive shooter next? This is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Let's take a look at the menu. Yes, 1440p resolution, 9070 XT graphics card, and we'll use the basic graphics quality preset to go for that maximum FPS, and AMD's FSR 4 set to quality mode. This should be interesting to watch because this is still a fairly CPU demanding competitive game, but it appears that the 9800 X3D is doing quite well in this particular scenario. The GPU is fully loaded, and we are getting above 200 FPS in some scenes, and about 180 to 170 in other scenes. Oh, look at that, 152. That is a high number. So this is a true high refresh rate experience, but if you are aiming for 240 Hz, then this is not quite enough. Let's check out the results. Here are the system specifications, and we got 222 FPS average, 176 FPS 1% lows, CPU 0% bottleneck, GPU 100% bottleneck. So the GPU in this case is the weak link. If you want more FPS in Black Ops 6, then get a better graphics card. Although there aren't any better AMD graphics cards, and on the Nvidia side, I'm not sure if the 5080 can deliver much more compared to this one. So I guess the 5090 then? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 represents your average AAA game experience in 2025. In this game, the CPU will be stressed by actually trying to produce as many frames per second as possible. Let's have a look at the settings. We are at 1440p resolution, Ultra Graphics Quality preset, FOV is set to 100, and we are using FSR 4 quality mode. Yes, this is FSR 4. I upgraded this 3.1 version to FSR 4 using AMD's Adrenaline app. In this particular scene, the GPU is fully loaded and the CPU is doing quite well. It is like 30 to 40% utilized. So it's a breeze for the 9800 X3D in this particular scene. Unfortunately, we still can't get a consistent 120 plus FPS experience because we are getting dips to around 100 FPS from time to time, and that is because the GPU is not fast enough to handle this game. So we're mostly GPU limited in this particular case. But if we want that 120 plus FPS experience, I think we can get there. Let's try using a lower resolution upscaling quality, balanced. So far so good, 130 plus FPS, but we have to go to that spot over there in the fort where the FPS usually drops to see if the GPU can handle it, and no. We're still at 100-ish FPS in these scenes, and that is totally on the GPU. So let's try something else. Let's lower the graphics settings to high, all right? Oh my, that increased our FPS by quite a lot. Take a look at that, 200 plus FPS in certain scenes. And over here, ooh, my God. Very close to 300 FPS. Nice. But the big question is, can we get above 120 even in this particular scene? Yes, we can. 160 plus actually. And the GPU is still the bottleneck in this case. It is fully loaded, so the CPU can actually produce more frames than this GPU can handle in this particular case. That's good to see. In conclusion, the 9800X3D CPU is indeed fast enough to handle the RX 9070 XT in most cases. There are very few cases where the 9800X3D will struggle, such as Cyberpunk 2077 with maxed out crowd density, but for the most part, in your average game, as well as in your average competitive game, the 9000X3D is a good pairing to the 9070 XT graphics card. Actually, it could use a little bit more GPU power, so the 9070 XT is not the limit for the 9800X3D. In this case, I would say that the GPU is the bottleneck. That said, this is still a very nice combo and I highly recommend it. I don't think that the 9800X3D is overkill for this particular graphics card. Maybe in some cases, but if you enjoy high frame rates even in AAA games, then the 9800X3D is the way to go. Obviously, at higher resolutions, such as 4K, the CPU won't matter as much, but it is still nice to have that CPU power just in case if you need it, or if you decide to use a lower resolution upscaling quality to boost that FPS to pretty much the same level as we've seen today. Because even at 4K resolution, you can lower that resolution upscaling to, I don't know, performance mode, for example, which means that you'll be upscaling from 1080p all the way to 4K. In that case, you'll be getting high FPS thanks to the CPU as well, even if you have a 4K monitor. By the way, if that is a scenario that you are interested in, let me know in the comments below. Should I test this combo and other combos at 4K resolution using resolution upscaling? Let me know. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon and the links in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, then don't forget to reward my work with a like. It helps out a lot and I really appreciate it. Furthermore, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.